Hey, everybody. Hope you've had a great week. As we wrap up the week, I want us to look at 3 verses again from Ephesians that are kind of scattered through the book, but they give us a hint of what was going on while Paul was writing this letter. Actually, Ephesians is called one of the prison epistles because it was written while Paul was in prison in Rome. And we see that at 3 different places where Paul refers to his situation. In Ephesians 3:1, Paul says, "For this reason I, Paul, the prisoner of Christ Jesus, for the sake of you." And he speaks of the Gentiles, the non-Jewish, but I think he would say just for Christians in general. Then in Ephesians 4 and verse 1, he says, "As a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received." And then there's one last verse here in Ephesians chapter 6 and in verse 20. There Paul asks for prayer from the believers in Ephesus, but he says, "For I am an ambassador in chains." And he says, "Pray that I may fearlessly declare the gospel as I should." Now, what that tells us is that Paul was in the midst of a very difficult situation. He was writing to probably different churches in the area of Ephesus that were also in a difficult situation and confronting this issue of doctrinal error that was being brought into the church through these Gnostic teachers. Now, that sounds a little hopeless, that here's a man in prison saying that the Christians in Ephesus are battling against these Gnostic lords of the universe, and it sounds almost like a Star Wars movie, okay? But Paul is saying, have hope. And so he gives this letter that speaks of the cosmic Christ and the great victory that Christ has already won. And, one of the things that I see there is Paul writes in the middle of a very difficult situation and writing to a very difficult situation. I see that Paul had a very big hope, and he was imprinting that big hope into the lives of those believers in Ephesus. And I hope that in the middle of this coronavirus, that when it seems like this is never going to end, I hope that God gives you a big, big hope that will strengthen and uplift and bless your life in every way. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now. God bless.